moving on to the next question. Think about your experience in your role, and if you could think about what's the biggest challenge you've experienced working with the public on elections. And then a follow up to that, what are some common misconceptions you hear the public expressing about voting or the election process?
I'm Mark Coakley and Henrico. Working with the public, we want to build trust and security in elections. We do not register by party in Virginia, but the public expects parity at the polling place with our officers of election. They will declare what party they are, either Democratic or Republican party representatives. Then the parties can vet them to see if they are a true heavy R, heavy D, light R, light D, or neutral. They just switch elections every year, as mentioned. So getting parity in the polling places with the officers of election, making sure that the public trust that it's the neighbors that are running the elections when they see them at their polling places on election day, gives them that feeling of trust and security that they need.
Add on to what Mark said, this is Stephanie again. There was a lot of mis and disinformation that's come out with regards to elections in the last few years, unfortunately during COVID, as it were, because there were restrictions in place and it was hard for people to get out. And we were still working every day, running elections, sometimes fully curbside voting in some cases where people weren't coming in, or we were doing by mail. But when it comes to mis and disinformation, we've taken some of the biggest naysayers, I would say, that have questioned the process, have questioned security, and we've invited them to serve as officers of election in our polling places on election day to see what goes on behind the scenes of how you qualify a person to make sure that they're properly registered to vote and you facilitate the voting process. And we've turned some of those people around. They've gone from being naysayers to, wow, you do security testing before elections and you do sample testing after elections, audits, and you do all of this security wise to prepare for the election. And you have people working from both parties and also nonpartisan individuals. So there's a lot that goes behind it, but we've taken some of those people that have been kind of on the edge, if you will, or question the process, and we've turned them into more believers in what's actually fact and not misinformation.
If you don't mind, I'll take a stab at this as well. Now, I would say one of the biggest challenges I have is that people are repeating inaccurate information from public figures that they hold in high esteem. Right? I think that is if somebody that you lionize, somebody that you worship, somebody that you respect, perhaps somebody that you voted for, is pushing information that's incorrect and doing so repeatedly, that's combating that is a challenge. And so I think that continues to has been a challenge and continues to be a challenge. I think the second part of your question, sorry, was about how we're combating that again.
Some of the most common misconceptions.
Conceptions, yeah. Sorry about that. Some of the most common misconceptions, for me, are sometimes, frankly, what is being put out by figures who, again, have large audiences. We've recently gotten some misinformation around mail voting. I think that has sort of come up because there have been questions raised again by people with large followings about whether or not mail voting is to be trusted. There have been questions raised about the administration of elections. Again, because there's a question that remains to be unfounded allegations made about, among other things, the 2020 presidential election. And so I think, perhaps not surprising, but these are things that continue to persist, unfortunately.
Just to kind of circle back, prior to a lot of this mis and disinformation, the the things that we used to face, we still face some of it, but it's not to the same degree. For example, one of the common misconceptions is absentee ballots don't count unless it's a close election. That's not true. All of absentee ballots are counted. In fact, we've changed how the required information on an absentee ballot envelope that a voter provides. Now they have to provide the last four of their social, their year of birth, along with their residence address and signature. Whereas before they could have a witness, and the witness could be anybody. And we don't do signature verification. We're not handwriting experts, but requiring this personal identifying information is making it a little bit more secure for the voter's ballot, as well as trying to put away some of that negativity and misinformation about absentee ballots and voter fraud and so forth. The other question that we would get a lot, and we still get, is because we don't register in Virginia by party, when we do have a dual primary, both the Democratic and the Republican Party are having their elections on the same day, we do have to ask the voter, would you like a Democratic ballot or would you like a Republican ballot? And that can create a little agita with some people, if you will, because people are like, why do you want to know who I'm voting for? And it's not that we want to know. I treat it like Jerry Maguire. Help me help you so I can give you the ballot so you can vote for whoever you want. It's not that we want to know who you're voting for, because we don't. We just want to be able to give you that ballot, because you cannot, by state code, vote in more than one party election on the same day.